Imagine a man who calls down drought, who brings fire from heaven, who confronts a king and a queen alone, and then disappears in a whirlwind. This is Elijah, a fierce prophet, a silent whisper, and a living sign of God's power. Stick with me, his story will surprise you. Hi, welcome back. Today we're telling the full story of Elijah, not just the headline miracles, but the human man behind them, his courage, his fear, his loneliness, and the lessons his life speaks to us now. We'll travel from the northern kingdom of Israel, through desert ravines and atop Mount Carmel, all the way to a chariot of fire. Ready? Let's go. The story begins in the northern kingdom of Israel during a dangerous time. The king is Ahab, charismatic but weak, and his wife Jezebel brings a fierce devotion to Baal, a Canaanite storm god. Temples multiply, prophets of Baal speak loudly, and the ancient worship of Yahweh, the God of Israel, is pushed aside. Into this context steps Elijah. His name means "My God is Yahweh." It's not a gentle whisper, it's a challenge. The biblical accounts that tell Elijah's story are primarily in 1 Kings chapters 17 through 19 and 21, plus the dramatic curtain call in 2 Kings chapters 1 and 2. Historians place his story in the 9th century BCE, in a kingdom torn between politics and religion. Fertile ground for a prophet who had no official office, only a calling. It starts with a thunderbolt, or rather, its absence. Elijah proclaims a drought, no rain, no dew. Why? As a divine response to Israel's idolatry. Then God hides Elijah by the Kerith ravine and miraculously provides. Ravens bring bread and meat each morning and evening. When the brook dries up, God sends him to a widow in Zarephath, an outsider, who shares her last meal and is sustained. Her son is even raised from the dead by Elijah. These scenes show a prophet who is both a man of judgment and a channel of provision. Notice the pattern. God often provides through unexpected people and places. The message isn't just God feeds his prophet, it's God's care reaches beyond political or religious borders. Now for the climax, Mount Carmel. Elijah calls for a contest. 450 prophets of Baal face one man who stands for Yahweh. The rules are simple. Prepare a bull, no fire allowed, and call on your God to light the offering. Who answers is the true God. Baal's prophets shout and slash themselves, but nothing happens. Then Elijah steps forward. He rebuilds an old fallen altar to Yahweh, digs a trench around the sacrifice, and pours buckets of water on it until the offering, the wood, and the trench are soaked. He prays, a short, bold prayer, and fire falls from heaven, consuming even the water. The people fall to their faces and proclaim, "The Lord, He is God." This scene isn't just theatrical. It is a powerful statement. God's presence is not earned by spectacle, but revealed in authority and truth. Yet Elijah's victory here is also the beginning of his most human crisis. You might expect a prophet to become a celebrity after a moment like that. But the story takes darker turns. Queen Jezebel vows vengeance. Elijah runs, not toward victory, but into the wilderness, terrified for his life. Before that, though, Elijah also confronts the morality of the monarchy. In the Naboth episode, King Ahab wants a vineyard that belongs to a humble man named Naboth. Jezebel plots false witnesses, Naboth is killed, and Ahab takes the vineyard. Elijah confronts Ahab with brutal prophecy, judgment for the murder and theft. This shows Elijah's role as prophetic conscience, not merely performing signs, but demanding justice. After Mount Carmel, exhausted and afraid, Elijah flees to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. He hides in a cave and pours out his soul. "I have been very zealous for the Lord, for the people of Israel have abandoned your covenant. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me." But God does not answer with a dramatic theophany. First comes a wind that cracks rocks, then an earthquake, then fire. But God is not in any of those. After the fire, a still small voice, a whisper. This is one of the most intimate human moments in the Bible. The prophet who called down fire is reminded that God's presence is often found in silence, compassion, and quiet conviction rather than spectacle. Elijah leaves the cave with renewed purpose. There are 7,000 in Israel who have not bowed to Baal, and God gives him new assignments. Elijah's story ends in a dramatic, supernatural departure that reads like the ending of a myth. He anoints Elisha as his successor. Elisha refuses to leave him, clings on, asking for a double portion of Elijah's spirit. They walk together to the Jordan. Elijah strikes the river with his mantle. It parts. They cross. Then, in full view, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separate them, and Elijah is taken up in a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha watches, cries out, tears his own garment, picks up Elijah's mantle, and the prophetic ministry continues. The whirlwind departure accomplishes two things. It preserves Elijah's dignity and sets up Elisha as heir. Continuity, not abrupt replacement. And it seeds a lasting expectation. Elijah didn't die a normal human death. He was taken, which gives rise to many later interpretations and hopes. Elijah's legacy is huge across Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic tradition. In Judaism, he's the herald at Passover and Seder tables, a figure expected to return and announce the coming redemption. In Christianity, John the Baptist is linked to Elijah's spirit, and at the Transfiguration, Elijah appears with Moses beside Jesus, symbolizing prophecy and the law meeting the gospel. Elijah becomes both a model of prophetic courage and a mirror of human weakness. But beyond tradition, his life teaches practical, timeless lessons. Here's the hard, powerful truth from Elijah's life. God calls people to stand when the culture bows. That standing may look like confrontation, speaking truth to power. And it may also look like quiet perseverance when fear threatens to swallow you. Elijah shows us that miracles are real, but so is loneliness, that public victory can lead to private despair, and that God's strength often comes through gentle presence rather than spectacle. So to this generation I say, be bold in conviction but humble in spirit. Speak for justice. Protect the vulnerable, like Naboth. Expect God to provide in surprising ways, and when you're exhausted, listen for the still, small voice. That's often where God meets you. If you take one thing away, let it be this. Courage without compassion becomes a harsh zeal. Compassion without conviction becomes complacency. Elijah teaches us to hold both, fierce faith and tender humility. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Elijah's life, hit like, share this video with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories from the Bible that speak to today. Drop a comment. Which moment in Elijah's life moved you most? Mount Carmel, the cave, or the whirlwind? I read every comment. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.